What's up, connoisseurs? It's Rod with Pow Group. Welcome back on The Pursuit of Wealth, your home for MJ stocks, crypto assets, news, and interviews. Also home to the best MJ community. Today is Friday, August 9th. Happy Friday. Hope you're doing awesome. And in this video, we're going to review Canopy's Q1 2025 earnings that came out this morning before market open. They did miss pretty bad in terms of analyst estimates, which I mentioned on the earnings prep video and in a video, I think, yesterday during the live stream, that I didn't expect much from these earnings because they're focusing on the Canopy USA entity and kind of righting the ship in Canada, focusing a little bit more on medical that drives better margins and profitability. And yeah, they've just been trying to get rid of like different divestitures and different segments of their business and trying to get rid of products that weren't driving high margin and profitability. So we saw a drop in revenue as a result. Like I said, wasn't expecting much from this quarter, and we knew that we probably weren't going to get any insight into Canopy USA financials, which was the case. I did join the call, so we'll sum that up here as well, and then we'll take a look at the chart, what to expect in terms of technicals in the days, weeks, months ahead. But I did mention in the earnings prep video that there was a death cross looming and that we could see another leg down and some sustained weakness. So before we get to it, make sure to smash the like. It helps support me in the channel. It doesn't cost you anything. If you're new, you can subscribe, take the bell, all that good stuff. You'll be notified on any future videos or when I go live. As always, this is not financial advice. I am not a financial advisor, and you should never buy or sell anything based on anything that I say or write. And full disclosure, I do own a small portion of Canopy in my MJ portfolio. You can also follow us over on X, formerly Twitter. The handle for that is @GroupPow. Going to be using that as my platform of choice going forward. And just in case we ever get silenced here on YouTube, it's a great way for me to get real-time community updates out and also maintain constant communication because censorship is a real thing. So Canopy Growth reports first quarter fiscal year 2025 financial results. I'm not sure what's going on with investing.com, and wanted to bring up the article here from Green Market Report as well. They're both reporting that they came in with $75 million for revenue, which is false. They're looking at the top line gross revenue, and even investing.com has it at 75.78 million versus 70.95 million. Then I went over to TradingView and they said 75.725 million as well. So it's making it look better than it actually was. That is false. That is gross. So if we take a look at Canopy's net revenue here, it was actually 66.2 million. And to give you an example, if we go back to the results from last quarter, Canopy gross fourth quarter and fiscal year 2024, if we scroll down, Canopy growth, so for the 3 months ended March 31st, 2024, look at the revenue, 83 million minus excise taxes. So net revenue was 72.78 million. So if we go here to the last 72.79, so 72.8 million. So they, for whatever reason, last quarter, they used the net revenue, right? But for whatever reason, they didn't, maybe they just overlooked it. And I'm not sure where they're all getting their information from. Maybe they're all pulling it from the same source, but yeah, it was last quarter, it was 72.8 million. And that's exactly what we had last quarter. So I'm not sure what's going on there. But yeah, that they're making it look a lot better than it actually was. It was actually a pretty big miss. So like I said, we were forecasting, and I did a video on this, my earnings prep video, Canopy Growth Q1 2025 earnings prep and CGC stock analysis. That's when I mentioned the death cross, and I said we were expecting 70.59 million. Could round that up to 70.6 million for revenue and negative 0.46 rounded up to 47 for earnings per share or EPS. And like I said, they had a pretty big miss. They came in at 66 million for revenue. The exact number, bring it up here again, 66.2 million for net revenue versus 70.95 million expected. And then in this video, I added them all up, but it was basically all coming in line around 70 million, and it wasn't too far off, came in at 66 million. And then earnings per share was forecasted, like I said, negative 0.47, we'll say, rounded up, and it came in at negative 1.6. So very bad result there. And then to compare to the prior year, in the same quarter, it was negative 0.7. So over double worse than it was that period. So they had a big loss. So that's not what we want to see. So they had a big miss in terms of EPS, huge miss, and then a huge miss in terms of, well, not a huge miss. I would say a big miss, not a huge miss, but it was a big miss in terms of revenue and a massive, massive miss in terms of EPS. But we'll go through, I'll give my thoughts on the conference call as well. I'll just kind of go through it as I go through the report here. I'll just mention some of the highlights. It wasn't that impressive of a conference call, to be honest. And again, I'm not really expecting much until we get insight into the Canopy USA financials and rescheduling and 280E goes away, etc. Right? A lot of these financials don't really do it justice at the moment, especially if we're going to see an improvement to excise taxes in Canada, where it switched from a flat fee to a percentage fee. That could add tens of millions, if not hundreds of millions, to some of these companies' bottom lines, right? So this is all in Canadian dollars as well. But we'll go through here some of the highlights. So their gross margin was 35%, and Canada MJ segment gross margin of 32%. So operating loss from continuing operations was 29 million in Q1 2025. So they did have a 47% improvement. So a lot of these numbers weren't that great, but if you compared it to the prior year quarter, they were seeing a pretty big improvement, even though they were seeing losses and etc. But they have some updates with regards to Stores and Bic as well, some of their ancillary and their vaporizer type products, essentially. Their cash and short-term investments balance was 195 million as of June 30th, 2024, compared to 203 million as of March 31st, 2024. So we'll go down here a little bit quicker through these highlights. So he kind of goes through some commentary. Reported, like I said, 35% gross margin. Adjusted EBITDA was negative 5.3 million, and free cash flow was negative 55.7. So again, it was an improvement, 49% improvement. Adjusted EBITDA, 77% improvement. So again, even though they were in the negative, it was an improvement from the prior year quarter. Go through some of the other highlights here. They did mention on the call that, again, they were trying to get rid of products that weren't driving high margin and profitability. They were focusing, they're not chasing market share, essentially, is what they said in Canada. They want to focus on profitability and maintaining that discipline, and then also focusing on the Canada medical market was a big focus for them as well. And then they had the private placement. They did also remove the going concern, so that was great to see. But going through, they mentioned some of their new products. They had the cafe beverage, the free sugar-free cola beverage, which I've noticed a lot more products in the stores, at the retail stores lately, and the quality has improved. International markets, so they said that they had number 4 market share position in Germany medical MJ, and they had high growth in high margin Poland, offset by decline in Australia. And the MJ gross margin was 36%. Company is taking steps to increase supply in German market by augmenting Canadian sourced flower with EU-based supply, which is their Kincardine facility. They talked about improving efficiency as well to LED lighting, which should cut down on costs. Following the regulatory changes in non-medical channel in Australia, Stores and Bic vaporizers are the only medically certified whole flower vaporizers available for sale in Australia, which is expected to drive growth opportunities in the Australian medical channel. They talked about Canopy USA. They said that they acquired Jetty. They're 2/3 done of Wana, the entities there. They said that should be completed by summertime. And then they said acreage probably wouldn't be until spring of next year, 2025. So it's going to be a while before we see that. And then they'd have to be audited and things like that. So we're probably not going to see any insight into their financials until probably rescheduling 280E goes away. So that'll be a good thing. So that's going to be massive, right? If 280E goes away, wow, like acreage, right? Benefiting from Ohio. Acreage announced that its commencement of non-medical MJ sales in the state of Ohio. Acreage is the Botanist Dispensary located in Akron, Canton, Cleveland, Wickliffe, and Columbus. So 280E goes away, recreational in Ohio, big footprint there. So you can start to put all the, strings together. You can kind of connect all the dots. And it's a lot of these financials, it's just a stepping stone to getting them by until that happens, right? Until that rescheduling, until everything gets consolidated. These financials were deconsolidated from the main Canopy Growth parent company, but eventually they'll all be under one umbrella once federally permissible in the U.S. and it's no longer a Schedule 1 drug. If it's no longer, if it gets descheduled, right, or if it's legal at the federal level, then essentially they'll be able to merge those two companies. That'll be the end goal, right? But we should see acreage complete it says here, first half of calendar 2025. So, and they mentioned that it was probably going to be in the spring. So it's going to be a while before we see anything from that. So again, not too focused on their earnings, as long as they're showing, narrowing losses and, their revenue isn't increasing, but like I said, they're getting rid of some of those products. So it's not a great report, but overall there is some positives to be taken from this. If we go down to the excise taxes, they did pay just north of 9 million, so it was 9.571 million in excise taxes. And again, we should see an improvement to that if the Canadian regulations change and we see that switch from a flat fee to a percentage fee. That could add tens of millions. There's their cash position. I already mentioned that. Adjusted EBITDA. So the net loss from continuing operations was 129 million. 129.191 million. So, yeah, not like I said, not great. This is they had a huge miss in terms of EPS and a big miss in terms of revenue estimates. And again, not sure why they were using the gross there, but it should be net, and it should be 66 compared to 70 USD. If we take a look here at Green Market Report, they went through it again. They were saying it was 75 million versus 88 million, which again is gross. So it's fine if you compare the two gross, but if you're adding it here, this is not. This is net. This is never usually gross. So I'm not sure why they were doing that. But they talk about losses jump. Going concern fears lifted. So this was an important thing I wanted to mention. They also had a highlight sheet here, unleashing the power of MJ. So they had 20% increase in Canadian medical MJ net revenue for the quarter. Increase in gross profit was 67%, 77% improvement in consolidated adjusted EBITDA, which I mentioned, 35% consolidated gross margin, 1,700 basis point improvement, 24% reduction in SG&A expenses, so sales, general, and administrative, and maintained top 4 market share in German medical MJ market. Canada MJ gross margin improved 3,300 basis points to 32%. Stores and Bickle sales up over 100% in Germany. Increased Canada adult use product distribution by 7% sequentially to 61,000 points nationally. And multiple EU-based MJ flower supply agreements signed. Cash and short-term investment balance of over 195 million. And here's a great highlight. Going concern fears lifted. The company told investors it believes that it has alleviated the doubts about it being a going concern. The company cited its 35 million private placement unit offering in January 2024, the receipt of 25 million from selling BioSteel Canada, the exchange of 100 million promissory note held by subsidiary of Constellation Brands Inc. into exchangeable shares of Canopy Growth. So they are now holding the Canopy USA, where they have non-voting rights, right? Those are the exchangeable shares, so they converted them, and the changes it made in the unsecured convertible debentures that pushed out its debt until March 2026. However, the company's long-term debt grew to 558 million over the last year's 493 million. But overall, there's some good, some bad, some ugly. But yeah, at the end of the day, not terrible. And like I said, once we start to see rescheduling, 280E goes away, and we see acreage finalized at some point, they're just going through a state-by-state approval at this point and regulatory process and getting that sign-off from all of the state authorities. Then, like I said, sometime in spring, we should see some audited financials and insight into those financials. But at the moment, starting daily consolidation from the high of yesterday after the Trump pump. I came out with some commentary. I posted a video on that. We're down about 15%. So it looks like we could see, the other side of the aisle start to support MJ as well. He said that he doesn't believe people should be in jail, and it's sad to see all these people in jail. And, the more states that legalize, he's starting to kind of change his tune. He looks at it a little bit different now. But we could potentially see a daily uptrend here. If we hold this low at 550 and then break resistance at 718, that would confirm a daily uptrend. But I did mention on CGC that we had a close below the 10-week moving average. We had a stochastic and a MACD bear cross in the weekly, so we were seeing some weakness there, and we're below all of the weekly moving averages, so that's not a great sign. And then I mentioned on the daily time frame that we could see a death cross over the coming weeks as well. And here we are below all of the daily moving averages. So overall, not looking too great from a technical perspective, but at the end of the day, we're just looking for a monthly uptrend to confirm, and we're forming the monthly higher low now to be confident that we're no longer in a multi-year bear market and that we could potentially be starting a multi-year bull market, and this time is different. We need to confirm monthly uptrends. So we have our low, high, higher low. We need the higher high. So it's all about 1492 resistance. If we form a higher low compared to 276, then come up and break resistance, that would give us our higher low and higher high, which constitutes an uptrend. And if that's on the monthly time frame, then it's all systems go at that point. And I do believe we're going to see some massive fireworks into the end of the year, especially if Florida, I think they're going to approve adult use. We're probably going to see rescheduling before the elections. and a myriad of other catalysts that, Germany looking to fast track Pillar 2, rec sales, right? For profit. We have excise tax improvement in Canada, potentially around the same time 280E goes away, in my opinion, uplisting. We could see banking in a lame duck session. So many bullish things, the rhetoric and narrative and, kind of campaign pumping that we'll see into the elections and stuff with regards to MJ and crypto versus medicine and MJ into the elections is going to be a big topic. And as we know, there's more people in the US that consume MJ that hold crypto. So that is a big thing to remember. All right, going to end it there. Let me know your thoughts and opinions on this quarter's financials. Let me know if you enjoyed today's video, and smash the like if you did. Share with anybody that might find value as well. Again, thanks again for joining us on The Pursuit of Wealth. It's Rod with Pow Group. Happy Friday. Have a great weekend ahead, and we'll see you again on the next video.